or unspoken, the word create has gone forth into the universe and has accomplished its desire. For men are creators of my law. Thus has the Lord said, I am Arcturus, the Elohim, and it is my desire to inspire you with a realization of both the power to create and the power to destroy that which you have created, which is not of God. Transmute it, change it into light, for the fiat has gone forth into the world, and it will accomplish the will of him who has sent it. Thus every man is endowed by nature, and by nature's God, with the power to create, with the power to enforce his demands. Some know it, and some do not. Yet the measure of restraint that has been put forth into the universe is very great indeed, for all are subject to cosmic law. The fiat to create is one grace. The power of restraint is another. And therefore men have been restrained in their action of the great law of creativity. I have come this day that I might bestow upon you a realization of your responsibility for humanity. Who then is like unto him who understands? Him to whom is given grace, him to whom is given a sense of purpose. And with each endowment, men are also expected to return to the universal that which they have received from the universal, of value, of strength, of the very purposes of their life itself. Yet moments come to humanity that are not in keeping with the theme of their life. They must learn to separate these barren threads from those that are productive. They must learn to separate the darkness from the light, and not to lament the fact that they are distressed by those outer appearances that from time to time come to all, but which have no power, for man is a creature of the ongoingness of God, of progress, a creature of reality, a creature of beauty, and blessed indeed is he with that power to create. Let him then understand the need to from time to time function as the master potter. The master potter creates. The master potter takes and places upon his wheel the clay, and the clay takes form and shape. Dimension comes unto it. Then the great master potter perceives that the vessel of clay which he has formed is imperfectly formed, and so he returns it once again to the potter's wheel for dissolution, that it may become a plastic mass, a chaotic mass, a seeming nothing. Then once again he begins the process over to create and to recreate, until at last the perfect vessel is formed, and the individual understands that he was born to be a king, born to be a ruler over himself and his destinies. I come to you today that you might understand the need to transmute the darkness in yourself into light. For the darkness of which I speak is in reality misqualified light. For that which is truly the ungrund, or the uncreated, has not yet been formed at all. That which I am speaking of is that which was once formed, but formed imperfectly. Do not be afraid to consign it to those cosmic fires within the direction of your mind and spirit, that you might also infuse it with the transmutative essence which God intended to manifest its shape and form of things to come. For first the mind and heart are illumined by inspiration, and then comes the idea that the image formed is incomplete. We are changed from image, from glory, unto glory, even as by the Spirit of the Lord. So the prophet did declare, and so it was spoken. Let men understand the meaning behind it. Be not afraid to be changed from glory unto glory. Be not afraid to take a lesser glory and conform it unto a greater glory. For the light that never fails is also present within you, and you are endowed with that reality which represents the vestments of God. The vestments of God are yours when you claim them, but until that, they remain a part of the universal. Men did not know that they were endowed with this enormous power, and then suddenly they were aware of it, and immediately they began to create according to the matrix or divine design which God intended them to exercise not only as privilege but as dominion. I come to you today then to say that the God within you is not a flitting creature, enamored entirely with the outer world. He will not allow you or permit you to rest entirely content in your own outer delusions. He will come to you and say, "Awake, my child," and it will be so. For you will realize at last that you are not a creature of the earth earthy, nor are you a creature of heaven heavenly, but you are endowed with a duality that you might find the opportunity to more perfectly create, and then when that which is perfect is come, to raise it to that heavenly state, nevermore to go out from the temple of God, for you have at last completed the divine image in the city foursquare, and all of the universe at last manifests for you. Right where you are, God really is. Right where you are, God really is. Right where God is, you really are. Right where God is, you really are. Will you understand that with me tonight? Will you understand that with me? Because the light of the eternal presence creates a condition where there is no night at all. Therefore, you see, the day spring from on high hath visited you and brought into manifestation that perfect image. Well, beloved hearts of light, it does not matter that you may say that perfect image does not at this moment seem to manifest fully for me. After all, you must consider the residual accumulation of untransmuted substance. And I tell you truly, that untransmuted substance must be transmuted in God's name one day before you will be able to step through that great cosmic doorway as a perfected being. Until then, you must wait patiently for the development of the great God Self that is within. You should understand that to possess it now is really a great boon to you, for outer conditions must eventually fade as your will and the will motivation yield themselves to the great pressures and powers of true manifestation. So long as individuals do not realize that the desires they create are also the matrices by which they are bound, they will remain bound. When they realize that these desires themselves are cords which keep them wedded to the concepts of the world, the concept of the bottomless pit, then you see they are always bound by that. The very supreme moment that they recognize the need to cut themselves free from outer desires and let their desires become the things of the Spirit, in thought, in feeling, and in actuality, then do they begin to weave that inextricable garment that is so much a part of themselves, that they cannot actually separate it at all into parts, for it is one sole reality of the God flame. That which I am speaking about, of course, is the weaving of the deathless solar body by the correct use of the divine energy that is within you and that possesses the power of transmutative effort like unto none. Let us then begin that process by realizing our consummate identity. We are all a part of God, but in reality any part can claim the total manifestation. This becomes then a demand note upon the great bank of the cosmic Godhead. And so the individual life stream can become the squeaky wheel that needs grease and therefore calls out to the immaculate powers of the Godhead to give him the attention which he feels he deserves. Now then, cosmic law is always brought first of all to the great karmic board for judgment. They exercise a right to examine every request for assistance, for energy, for a function to take place. And when they examine it and pass upon it, then you see it is given the blessing of heaven. And so it is ready for the fiat to at last become manifest. Will you understand that any of you can lay claim to a portion of heaven? Solomon himself was so vested with great glory. But, beloved ones, what did he ask at first? He asked wisdom of God that he might understand how to use wisdom. Do you understand then the need for you also to inquire of the cosmic universal mind, of what its wisdom consists for you, to ask of God to reveal the precious secret that is the secret of the Most High, the secret of his reality, the fabric of your identity? And thus you see there is a transmittal made. A communication from the Godhead comes to you, and with it the sacred fire to carry out the divine purposes. For the divine purposes are both a transfusion and a fusion of your identity into the Father's universal plan. Then man no longer remains separated behind a wall of his own creation, but the very infinite flow of cosmic freedom becomes an appropriation of that reality which embodies the principle of cosmic freedom. So a God is born, and truly each of you are intended to be, as the word has gone forth, a ruler of a system of worlds, a consummate identity capable of attaining dominion over the earth, literally and actually. Let all understand this, for the ongoingness of God is one of gratitude and conferment, whereby upon the child that at first seems so very limited in his scope, there is at last given tremendous responsibility. And then suddenly he realizes at last that he can endow those creatures under his direction with his own responsibility and make them also responsible for a manifestation of a portion of himself. Thus there is made a dispersion of the universal energy to each individual according to his wisdom, his grace, and his development. I am Arcturus, and I am interested in the freeing of a planet. Let the individual then feel the great cosmic force field I am generating all around this building, that I am generating within your hearts, that I am creating as the impetus of cosmic movement. For I want so very much to see all of you endowed with not only the supreme purpose, but a certain freeing from those tremendous burdens both of the spirit and of the flesh that are your lot. I would like to see you endowed with greater grace and assistance. Yet the momentary grace which I bring is not only an assistance to you upon the pathway of your progress and acceptance of truth, but it also will help and encourage you in developing an affirmative response from others who are endowed also with the precious word of transmittal, as you yourselves become the instructor of those who have not yet heard of the teachings which you so preciously love. As I endow you with a greater measure of your own solemn responsibility, I also endow you with the power to lift that responsibility on high, to be endowed indeed with God's thought for you that will help to make you a God. In the name of heaven, beloved ones, in the name of cosmic reality, I know there are so many things that must be laid aside, but in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, you can lay those things upon the altar, all of them, and decide that at last You are going to part with them. You have dearly loved them, and you have endowed them with a portion of yourself far greater than their power to return to you the efficacious grace which God already has. Will you understand then that I speak of the outer accumulation of things of the world, and how humanity is enamored by outer conditions until they reach a point where they are ready to depart the planet, and then because they no longer seem to have any need of them, they are willing to relinquish them? Well, precious hearts of the light, let me make clear to you that the endowment of God and His grace, by the grace of God that is already resident in your precious selves, is itself an activity that brings about a response from the Godhead that will help each and every one of you in your onward rate of progress. You have first received wisdom from God. You have also received power from God. You have received strength and the infusion of life from God. You have received the creative imagination from Him. He has made it possible for you to assimilate the divine principles one by one. He has even arranged it so that they are not simply a pile of that which you call jack straws or loose straws before you to be drawn up in the hook of your consciousness, but rather you realize that they are precious endowments possessing the qualities of life that are most important to you at a given time. And these values and sense of values change throughout the years, so that now you have come to that place where you can realize that you are ready, even though some of you are still babes in arms, to actually receive the teaching of the great ascended Master Law in its marvelous outpouring as it comes forth in you to regenerate you, to infuse you with righteousness, to bring about a sense of the consummate reality of God, to stir the very dust within yourself, to respond because it is spirit to the vibratory action of the sacred fire and the sacred fire element, and to know and to be that which God is. Will you then accept from me the gift tonight, this very moment, of the radiant power which I am? You may wonder why I say tonight. Well, I have a very good reason, because somewhere on earth it is tonight, and somewhere on earth it is today, and you yourselves are not living completely in that state of freedom which I call today, and therefore I have rightly said, and not wrongly said tonight, because it is an actuality I want you to understand. You are living in a darkness indeed, a darkness of consciousness from time to time, which every one of the ascended masters, by the lightness of their manifestation, by the brilliance of their color, by the fire of their design, would bring to you, that you may have a renewal of your being by the thoughts they bear. For they are bearers of God's holy light and of His instruction, that they may make every one of you transmuted from time to time by their cosmic effort. At first it comes to you and is born as a cosmic heat, one sometimes of great uncomfortability, because you possess within the force fields of your identity certain accumulations which actually are darkened substance. Now comes the fires of God and moves upon the physical flesh, and there may be produced a feeling of discomfort. But let me tell you, once the cosmic fire has melted out of you the condition it seeks to melt out, then you will find a great lightness occurring in your precious forms. An action of the sacred fire will be produced, and you will know and understand that the grace that God has given to you is a grace for your souls, is a manna from heaven, and is the sacred fire element resident within yourself as the life which God is, for the supreme purpose of accomplishing that which you have called forth many times, but which is now manifesting within you. And now I take my leave of you for a reason. The reason I leave you now is because I do not wish to keep a steadfast pressure upon you, but I wish to continue to work and serve with you. And therefore, after my voice has passed away, I shall not pass away. I shall remain with you for 24 hours, establishing within the force field of your being a cooling action of the sacred fire, transmuting moment by moment wherever I can, wherever the great law will allow, and helping you to create those designs that are the consummation of freedom within yourself, the realization that you are a vibrant, endowed cosmic being in physical form. Let us now open the prison doors and let men go free. Let us free the consciousness. Let us free the being of man, Let us establish in him the awareness that God is, and that God also is transmutation. I thank you. Out of the heart of the universe I come, and I am minded of the needs of mankind, to transform themselves into that sweetness of cosmic effort that is never redundant and never insufficient, but is always the exact supply and demand of the law that produces an economy in the divine operation whereby all things are beautifully complete. Beloved hearts of light, I understand where you are in consciousness, and I understand where I am. And it is my desire to bring you a greater depth of the realization of the infinite compassion of the law, that you may become a very real part of the law in operation. I am harmony, and harmony is a real being, a being who manifests the quality of the law. And so it is my delight to take you apart from what you have called the humdrum world into a world of spiritual experience and beauty, where all is cosmic stillness and yet remains the hub of industry. We are creators and sustainers of cosmic beauty and strength. Ours is the sustaining power of every moment. Yet individual men may become centers of our power and of our destiny, because we have long ago resolved what seems to be the crisis between ourselves. We bring ourselves directly through the great gulf fixed between, to make you to understand, where necessary, at least in part, that there is a higher law functional in your own being and producing the fruit of such reality as has not been produced before. No, not since when you were with God and danced together with the spirits of love and compassion in the infinite world of the Spirit. Be at peace then, and come with me into the crystal fire mist of radiance. Come to me now within the great temple of all hearts, the temple of universal experience. Step outside the walls of your physical forms and realize that there is a domain of spiritual beauty and harmony all around you, a realm of delight available to you. You can leave all of your cares for you have almost worn them out. Even behind you now, as you step forward into that experience where God is, a realm of his consciousness, a realm of bliss and harmony. Harmony is a law, an aspect of a law, and it is a living quality of God that all may embody and become a very real part of. Won't you then understand that I am creating now, all around you, by the force of infinite mind, a temple of crystalline reality? Crystalline because it expresses infinite purity, and because it cannot be interfered with by outer consciousness or outer conditions. It is a fortress of impregnability, yet at the same time it embodies the concept of clear seeing, where men are no longer a part of a muddied world, of a world streaked by delusion, but at last they have come apart and realized that infinite harmony which I am, as a very real part of themselves, and in truth a part of the entire world. God delight and God purity are the expression of crystalline wonder, reflecting the rainbow colors that are so beauteous in their pastel manifestation. I am harmony. Afresh I come from temples of light, and I come to invoke in your midst the presence of that harmony that is a natural part of yourselves. A place of God delight, then, is a place where no inharmony can abide, a place where beauty and strength and wonder are a part of the divine scheme, and as a part of the divine scheme, they are a part of that spirit of man, which is a spirit of God delight. Outer conditions pale into insignificance. They are no more. We would annihilate them permanently, but the law will only allow us to annihilate them momentarily or hourly, and hopefully for so long as you can endure it. For humankind, accustomed as they are to outer conditions, are most comfortable with those conditions, and the spheres of the spirit are sometimes a foreign land to them, a thing not a part of themselves, but that which for so long was a beautiful part of that reality of themselves, until they came into the world of outer manifestation, and then there they began to manifest those qualities, not of delight, but of distress to the outer mind. Come apart then from all of that, and be for a moment, for an hour, for a day, for as long as the soul within you can breathe awareness of itself, a fragrant part of that vibrancy which I am, and understand that in this realm the delight of our harmony is the delight of God, the joy of God, so unfamiliar to the outer world, for it seems to lack the vibratory quality, but it has its own specific delight and majesty. It is comfortable not only for a moment, but for eternity, and movement and design are carried out in our realm, and the soundless wonder or the soundful wonder. The cup of life is radiant with our joy, because we are, and because you are becoming. One day, the garment you wear will become embellished by the spiritual prowess which you wield, and you will understand that outer conditions are easily brought under the power of the spiritual radiance that is within. You will determine then by the force of the God personality that is within, that nothing shall stand in your way of manifesting that all of the day, all of your life, all of foreverness, all of God. And time will be no more, but a grand glossary will be created whereby you can look backward or forward or into the eternal now at will, and become no longer a part of that sense of outer movement, but now a part of that inward movement, representative of the inner temple, which I am manifesting. Be not concerned by outer conditions. Be not concerned for a trifle, but But recognize that the wonder to behold in the divine scheme is the fabric of cosmic intensity. It is an intensification of cosmic design in form. It is the wonder of our radiance now moving upon the brain, upon the heart, upon the physical being of man. And as it moves, creating the movement of the great shuttle of life, whereby our cosmic industry also enters into the scheme of things here below and creates an avant-garde realization of the cosmic intensity of the cosmic fire. God is, and because He is, I am. You are then creatures of destiny, to whom is given the power to resolve all outer difficulties. Will you then now depart from this outer world, I urge you again, and enter into that crystalline temple which I am now almost finished building, a state of consciousness of such delight and joy, with so many wondrous places within it that you can find a peculiar niche all for yourself, a vibratory quality of such loveliness as to embody the quality of God variation. The quality of God variation within the wondrous design which I am creating and sustaining by a momentum of my own power and the fire of my mind. You also have a mind, you have a being, you have a delight, you have an understanding, you have a compassion. You are, you breathe, you think, you feel. Yes, but you are more than that. You are more than the outer expression of the self. You are the God domain also, the plane of true ideation where thoughts resolve themselves on the moment. Outer conditions sometimes require such a length of time that you develop the quality of patience and tolerance through the years as you seek to express those God qualities which in reality you already are. Will you understand then that I am in that invisible realm now a part of God reality? That I am a God-free being. Some of you have called me the great tenor. Others have called me the God harmony, because you have imputed to me the quality of my radiance and my strength. But I come from the temples of light of the great white brotherhood here right upon this planetary body, and I call them also my home. For I dwell there in the radiant light that God has put there for all of you. A place of wonder and refuge, a place of strength and sustainment, a place of God delight, where in moments of outer turmoil and distress, you may at last find the wonder that you are reflected in that God domain of cosmic Christ reality. The strength of our shining also contains within it the essence of every scientific achievement. All outer conditions are easily bent to our will, for we are able also to sustain those outer conditions of mind and spirit which none of you even dream exist. A framework of such delight as to change outer conditions on the instant. But we do require a great deal more time. We have learned how to compress what you have termed time, so that we can take the required time and then momentarily jump on the merry-go-round of human experience with the full momentum of our energy, dealing with that peculiar problem which you have and resolving it on the instant. Will you come with me then and learn to do likewise? Will you recognize that I am, that the acceleration of my being is much more rapid than that of yours, but I have adjusted it somewhat to the radiation and vibration of your feeling, but now I have desired to intensify it yet more. And so, as I speak unto you, I am stepping up the radiation of this class to a vibratory quality yet undreamed of by you. The vibration of harmony is a most wonderful experience, for it brings a sense of the comprehension known by St. Paul as the girding up of your mind. When you understand that, then you are not just a bundle of nerves at all, blessed ones, but you are a composite being, calm and serene, with the quality of the crystal mist or the sacred fire, manifesting according to its own desire that intensity of feeling which never submits to the oppression of the outer self, but determines that it will set its own sail, the course of its own adventure, the strength of its own arm. This is the determination of God, which every man can take. He need not become a parcel of things all put together within a coat of skins, and then thrust by any wind of the thought and feeling of others into a situation not to his liking. He can create instead the wonders of the Spirit within himself at will. Yet he must be careful of delusion. He must understand the need to tether himself to that reality which is of the Spirit. He must keep himself guarded at all times with a full comprehension of the wonder of experience. Even Archangel Michael, coming into the realm in which you live, puts upon his head the great crystalline helmet, so that he may be shielded against the intrusion of outer thoughts and feelings, which because of thousands of years of human density have become most oppressive to the thought of mankind. They do not even want him to enter into that realm of freedom in which I abide so naturally. Would you not actually find great peace in being a permanent part of this? Yet we certainly do not ask you to prematurely finish your adventure in human form. You must finish it, yes, but not now. You must carry out the great adventure of living according to divine direction. You must submit to every pressure of harmony within yourself and organize yourself to fight what has been called the great battle against inharmony and the creation of that inner condition of perfect harmony. This does not mean that you become one who stands to ignore every human need. You are able to enter into every plane of thought and feeling with great ease, and as you do so, you are able to remain the master of your world, not in a sense of pride, because you say, I have attained, but because all of this beauty exists all around you and is a part of the divine parcel, the parcel of eternal values. You yourselves create a different parcel for yourselves. By your adventures in form, you submit to outer conditions. Now I am urging upon you the understanding of relaxation, of perfect reality, of perfection itself. You are a part of perfection. You are a part of harmony. You are God delight. You are cosmic adventure. You are the force field of that intensity, amplified without limit and sent forth into the world of form. Understand that I am. Understand that you are. Understand that the day will come when we will all be one, perfectly then complete in all of the God manifestation which I am now bringing forth to you. I would like to take a moment now in our great temple of pure delight, and I would like to sound forth that silent sounding which is the result of God manifesting in my form. I want you to hear the note of cosmic harmony ringing crystal clear through the temple which we have created. And so I shall have a moment of silence during which I shall sound that sound, and you shall hear it with the inner ear, and it shall express in you momentarily as the delight of our realm, the realm to which you seek to achieve. Did you hear it? Did you know that it sounded? Were you a part of it? Did you understand it? That feeling of perfect harmony that to some will come now, to some a bit later, and to all in due course of time. You can achieve it, for God is. And out of the delight of his law comes the delight of man. I am harmony. I have walked in the caves of the mountains. I have remained in the hidden part of the earth. I represent one of the ascended ones who has come forth to teach an aspect of the law at a given moment. You are all recipients of the teachings. You are also teachers of men. Be endowed with a sense of your responsibility. Understand the need to change the age. It does not manifest correct harmony. It is filled with discord and jangle. Confusion floods the mind so easily. Turmoil and outer conditions, and the temple disappears, and men see it not. We may not lament it, but we know it means frustration and delay to you. Enter into it then. Maintain it, active, living, vital, vibrant, a place of hope to all men. I thank you. Through the caravan of the years, I have beckoned unto you, and some of you have came unto me, and some have not. They have hesitated. But my love has expanded through the years. The dimensions of my understanding has reached out, and I call unto you, and my sheep know my voice, and understand the love that I am, the strength that I am, and what I am. Once one of you, still one of you, I remain wedded to the evolutions of this earth, beckoning mankind homeward, calling unto him through the caravan of the years, asking him to observe whatsoever I have declared unto you. Asking mankind to observe and to understand the need to become as a little child. For I would take mankind by the hand and lead them out of darkness into light. I would bring their consciousness out of that darkness into the dawn of realization, into the new day of strength, into compassion for one another. There are those who doubt my existence, who proclaim unto the world that I was not. There are those who doubt the reality of themselves, that they are like finite moths about a flame. One day they may well not only singe their wings, but plunge into the heart of the flame and be absorbed. They have little to say about themselves until the dawn of the realization that they are one with God, that they are one with the tendrils of reality, with the unfolding love that I am. For my love is real, and my love is tangible, and our wisdom invokes in man a response, a realization of the fact that he is not just flesh and bones, that he is not just a form, but that he also observes the formless ritual, the ritual of the natural self. For man is naturally endowed with the love and the strength of my becoming. He is endowed with the strength that shines through the night, that pierces the gloom, that assures mankind of the power of immortality and the gratitude which I am to God for making it possible for man to become. I recall full well the incident of the woman breaking the precious ointment about my feet. I recall my words unto her and the sense of cosmic justice by which I reached out into the world. And I called unto men, and I magnetized them then, and they came unto me, and many were healed, and many were strengthened, and reality became a part of themselves. Oh yes, this was for the hour in which they lived, but it was also in many cases strengthened into a bond of foreverness, whereby they proclaimed the resurrection from the dead, and the state of sincerity, whereby they accepted the ascension in the light as the natural manifestation of the divine self, a surging flame, a strength of hope that materialized into a spirit of reality, because God identified with them, and they identified with God, and they were, and they became that reality which I am. And in the beginning our love was to bring every creature unto Christ, unto the very filament of God ideals, the strength that shone and manifested in the heart, the strength that was a new beginning when a new beginning was required, that was even an ending when an ending was required, that was the dawn of a new day when a new day was needed because of the passage of time. I have came unto the world, I am in the world, my spirit is with you still, and my spirit will remain, for it is life, and it is hope, it is regeneration, it is the word I spoke. It is not callous to the identity of those who have needs. It is openness and love. It is frankness and sincerity. It is the friendliness of the eternal God, the eternal Word, beckoning man homeward. And as a dove wendeth through the sky, going homeward at eventide, so does my love beckon all to abide in the hallowed circle of universal identity. Many are the errant sons in this world. Many are those who do not understand the passions of the heart, who are not filled yet with a realization of our identity by which the pillars of memory are trembled. And we have spoken often, we have beckoned often, and some have become bored with our call. They do not realize its reality. They do not realize the fullness of its love. They are yet enforced by doubts and resistance to our reality. They do not understand that which is in themselves, which is the spirit of life, which is the spirit of inquiry, which is the spirit of strength. It is not of weakness, for weakness is of the flesh, and our strength and our courage is of the Spirit. Be thou then endowed with light. Be thou then endowed with strength. Be thou then endowed with our love, that thou mayest also give our love unto our brothers, who may be indeed the beggar in thy midst, begging for bread. But this is spiritual bread of which I speak. It is the bread which men hunger for within the very depth of their souls, and the outcry in the night is even now heard amongst mankind. And the outcry for the light is indeed come unto the world. The foolish virgins are about you, those who are endowed with the idea that there is naught for them, when in reality, in every age, the fruit of cosmic endeavor, the fruit of cosmic industry is with men. And yet the day will come unto many who ignore me, when they will find out, not to their liking, that they have passed momentarily the bond of opportunity, and then the darkness will indeed seem to enclose round about them rather than the light. And therefore I hasten this day to invoke for all men the light, that while they live they may understand the purpose of life whereby they might be endowed with it, the purpose of life whereby they might live by it and adore it, because life is in reality regeneration. It is the smile upon the face of God. It is his hopes for men made in his image, that they may transport themselves by a renewal of determination into the fashion of the Christ consciousness, and away from the grips which the world has upon them through the banal habits of the past, which have darkened their consciousness, caused them to be surfeited at times by the destructive aspects of repetitious boredom, caused them at times to relinquish their hold upon life itself, and thus we would invoke for all a realization of our love. The world today is in great confusion, and doctrines themselves often divide men against one another, when I have called unto them as I have called unto God. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one God. I have spoken unto mankind, come ye and be not a part of the world, but come ye and be a separate creation unto myself. And why have I thus spoken? I have spoken in the hope that men would come unto me and relinquish the burdens they bear. And therefore tonight I am calling unto you as I have called unto the world before. For my burden is light and my yoke is easy, and I say unto you, take it upon you and learn of me. For I chasten you not, but I bring to you the fabric of a new hope. I am a new garment, and I would vest you with it. I am a new strength shining every moment of the day and night. I am a new hope and a new voice, and all that is illumination. I am courage that reaches out. I am strength to face any condition and to overcome it. And I am the fullness of thyself in action, for we are indeed one. And our strength shineth as the sun in its splendor, and our strength is God's strength, even as it is God's hope for a better manifestation, for a better resurrection, for a greater shining, for reality and dawning to ever come to mankind. For reality and dawning are the dawning of hope and the day of the Lord, which is the day of victory, when man, no longer afraid, will face all conditions that have splintered and divided him from one another. And now at last he comes indeed to the feet of God, and there is indeed one shepherd, and that one shepherd is the great voice of himself within. It is the strength whereby he is indeed healed. It is life that beats his heart, that gives to him the courage to start a new day in action within the spirals that were nebulous indeed, until at last he is able to no longer live in the clouded concepts he has formerly lived in, but at last is able to regenerate himself by the starting wonder of divine truth that lives in himself, that is the fabric of the soul, that is the fabric of God, that is the thought of the living Word, speaking through his flesh and his being, and creating an endowment rich indeed in all of the gifts of the Spirit and the fruit of the Spirit and the shining that is of the Spirit. I am today gathering my lambs. I am today calling them everywhere in the world, they of various persuasions, to come forth from the world and be a part of my delight in the law of the inward parts of man. The way of the heart is made plain. The way of thy strength is made plain. The way of thy soul is indeed a way of wonder and delight. Yet I cannot promise unto you that every moment will be easy unto your flesh, for you have lived for a long time in that flesh, embodiment after embodiment, fashioning a new form with new hope, yet often denying the very truth I spoke of old, and not recognizing that whereas you may outwardly claim me, unless you exhibit those factors of myself that are indeed stemming from the miraculous manifestation of myself, then you are indeed still living in the consciousness of separation, whereby you feel no longer a part of God or his endowment, but a part that must struggle against the world and against the high odds which seem to stand in the way of your achievement. I am the reality of God. I am the Christ consciousness. I am the light whereby, one by one, you will come through that wondrous door, until at last, gathered together unto me, even as little children, yet wise indeed, I will endow you with the mind of God, with lightning speed, whereby you will understand that to live neath his rod, neath his chastening, neath his admonishments, is the very most gracious gift that I can ever give unto mankind caught in the net of humanity. They are as fish who will one day be cast upon the right side of the boat. They will be caught indeed in the net, and I will gather them, and they will be gathered, and the kingdom shall become a reality. But we are not giving unto mankind what you have called a pie-in-the-sky ideal. We are conveying to you the great blazing noontide of your own reality, and we are giving you the courage and the shining of our splendor even now, before mankind can liberally endow himself with the realization that he is entitled to it. For so many today beloved ones of the light, have chastened themselves needlessly. They have caused themselves to feel inferior. They have caused themselves to feel that they are not worthy. And I say unto all, you are worthy by the light of the universal Christ to be a part of the avant-garde movement of the brotherhood. You may esteem yourselves more greatly. You may gather up in your mind your consciousness that has been so widely dispersed until at last you are indeed free to observe with gladness and joy all those rituals of becoming whereby I am manifesting the fruit of the Spirit through love, through peace, through joy, and through that reality which I am. I recall long ago when I gathered the multitudes upon the hillsides of Judea, whereby many among them did not believe upon me at first. And yet as I spoke unto them with the power of God, one by one, many of them were gathered into the fold. And then came that moment on Golgotha, and the resurrection, and my ascension. And at last it seemed that I was parting company momentarily with many that I had known for so long. And when later I came to Rome and to Peter and appeared to him and to others in visions, even as I appeared to St. Paul, and as I opened the prison doors, and as I set others free throughout the pages of history and appeared unto them, behold, my joy became more full and complete, for I realized fully that I was no longer limited by the strands of earth knowing, but I was given at last the bestowing whereby I could assist mankind in any age to know the fruit of cosmic endeavor and to be that fruit. Will you then, one and all, recognize and understand as you are able that I am speaking to you tonight for the precious endowment of your lives with that richness whereby I can strengthen in you a great bond with God, with the presence of reality right within yourselves, whereby I can gather you together, whereby I can no longer stand idly by and watch as mankind divides himself, but wherever two or three are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst. And I am shedding upon you tonight the very love I once shed long ago upon my disciples. And I am also invoking a great range of progress which shall extend itself as a new Holy Communion throughout this conference, that you may indeed remember my broken body and be, when you can, a greater part of myself in manifestation. You then may remember me. You then will remember me. You then will observe the ritual of becoming as I am. Fashioned like unto me, you will become one with your own God self. The presence of immortality within you will speak, and you will be endowed as I have intended from the beginning, as God intended from the beginning, as was intended for man from the beginning. And then you will no longer worry. You will no longer be concerned with little things. You will no longer be concerned with the transitory, for you will know the meaning of becoming endowed with my radiance within. You will know the strength that I am. You will understand that I am with you always, even unto the end of the age, that I am endowing humanity with my strength, that my love endures even as thou endurest, and I would that thou wouldst endure forever, for thou art indeed not an outer garment, but a self endowed by God with a living image, with a precious filament that shall shine with the light which the world craves. And I give that light unto the world, for I am the light of the world. And the light of the I am presence within is the light of the world. And the light by which I love mankind will endow them forever not with mortal mind, but with the mind of Christ, the immortal self that will endow them with God's strength, with God's purpose, with our freedom as brothers from behind the veil. I have spoken to you as one who cometh from behind the veil, and yet the tangible offering of myself is within thyself. As thou endowest thyself with faith, so will the strength of thy works be. As thou endowest thyself with gratitude, so will thy freedom manifest. As thou endowest thyself with every good and precious gift, so will God come to thee both in the day and in the night. And then we shall understand our oneness here below. I have understood it, but until man understands it, I remain incomplete. For I am identifying with the men and women of every age. Through them I express, through them I am. And we must today highly resolve that we shall endow this age with a recognition of the true nature of their self. We must assist them in recovery. We must assist mankind as we can. And yet the endowment of the individual is all important. For unless men have the fabric of my strength, unless they have the song of my joy, unless they are the reality which I am, they are yet in their infancy. And yet I beckon unto the little ones to come unto me, that they may be endowed. For I will make humanity to expand their light until it glows. And every brother will make humanity to expand their light. And all of the masters of the great white brotherhood will endow mankind with the expansion of their light, the power of expansiveness, the expansiveness of truth, the reality and requirement of every hour, until we answer the pleas of the little ones among mankind. And I have often said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And truly it may be said of many in this generation. And yet I assure you that he that is in me and he that is in you is greater than he that is in the world. Let us rejoice together and be glad, for the cup of our joy runneth over. Let us inundate the world with it, and let us determine to exhibit the fruit of right action as the body of God upon earth. So shall thy freedom come unto thee. So shall thy deliverance be born, and so shall the Christ reign in thee. I have spoken unto thee. I have beckoned unto thee through the years, and I shall continue so long as the cosmic law allows, until thy freedom is complete, and I shall carry thee as permitted through the gateway of the Lord, even as the good shepherd carries the lamb about his neck. And I shall bring thee in as a sheave of rejoicing. So give thyself unto him, unto God, unto thy presence. So shalt thou be endowed with immortality. May my peace be unto thee. May my peace live in thee. May thy consciousness be open. Our Father, Ephrathah. So do thou, O God, open their consciousness as thy law permits, until the light coming through shall cut a new opening where none seem to exist. until they shall know that we are one, even as thou art one. As we return these little flames back to the heart of God, may our consciousness go with them into the heart of the Son. In memory of thyself, ourselves rejoice. In memory of thy flame burning within our heart, we submit ourselves to that flame. Thus shall thy flame be a light to lighten the burden of men, to strengthen them once again, to build anew a greater silver cord, over which shall flow the currents of our Lord in greater strength. We are one with God. We cannot be a creature of a moment, for God has given us strength. He has given us mind. He has given us feelings. He has given us all that we are. And one day, as good stewards of these great mysteries, we shall return a greater portion of the endeavor of true selfhood unto Him who has first given to us because He has loved us. And so as we meditate upon the things of the Spirit and the words of the Christ, let us remain wedded unto Him through the great alchemical marriage, the marriage of the soul with a higher flame of God identity. Let us devote ourselves to the transformation of the outer self. But by thy leave, O Lord, but by thy leave, O Lord, but by thy leave, O Lord, let us understand not by the leave of the outer self, but by the will of God, we shall be forged anew as a dream of our reality made manifest. We shall shape the inner form in the image of the Lord, and the outer self shall manifest it. It may require the forging of time. It may require, in some cases, what seems to be momentary tragic circumstances. It may require, in other cases, the bearing of joy, which can be so exquisite that the soul can hardly stand the joy. But in all cases, we will arrive by the right pathway at the place where perfect balance manifests, perfect harmony, and perfect understanding. I knew him then, and I know him now. Still the same buoyant, joyous, godly personality, infused with a deity who could declare, I and my Father are one. Let all understand the sweet simplicity embodied in his thought, in his feeling, in his joy, in the wonder of his love. Let all understand the tenderness that he bore, yet withal he had the courage to speak his convictions. To be cast down, to be crowned with thorns, to be afflicted when he was conscious of the Lord of the whole earth, conscious of the power and preeminence of God within his life. Yes, I knew him then, and I know him still, and I revere him among men as very great. Truly, this man was the Son of God. But I yearn today, as he yearns still, to accomplish in the lives of all a realization of who they are, a realization of the blazing noontide of reality that is within themselves, of the Christ consciousness. There are many frustrations that come. There are many feelings and many attacks that come to humankind to cause them to part company with the light temporarily, to obscure it, to make them feel belittled. But I say to all of you of the light, beloved ones, understand clearly that God has called you. And if he has called you, he has also called them. And if he has called them, he has also called the whole world. Yet they have not heeded. One by one they come through the door. One by one they are established in the force field of the reality of themselves. And we wait patiently through the centuries. We have waited for many centuries. We have waited for them to awaken. We have waited for the quickening moment to come. Yet, when it has come unto them, they have brushed it aside but lightly. They are willing to go so near, and yet not completely near. They are willing to be partially awakened, yet not completely awakened. They are ready to have their eyes opened, but not completely opened. And therefore we urge upon all a sense of the surrender unto God's will that the masters have again and again epitomized to you as the fruit of their own lives. And it is an abundant fruit. It is a joyous fruit. It is a fruit that brings forth. Yet so many come so close and yet are just as far in a way as they were before they started. For they have established limitations upon their consciousness, upon their thoughts, upon their ideas. The unlimited sense must not be obscured by outer conditions. I remember full well the recountal, as he told it, of his own escapades at the age of 12 with his own parents, when he said, "Wist ye not that I must be about my Father's business?" He always placed the business of the Father over all outer conditions. This was the important phase of his life. It was a phase of his identification with the Father. And therefore we yearn today to bring forth into your consciousness a living, vital awareness of the reality that places God first, and the outer self, its conditions, in its proper perspective. For the true love of God that is needed today is the love of identification, the love that will identify him as first. Give him the preeminence, and all will go well with you. Place yourself between the reality of God and what happens. The blessed ones, there is always frustration, the gnawingness of decay, because the individual has in some phases placed themselves first. If you will learn the sweetness of simplicity, the sweetness of givingness, you will become the recipients also of a love that is the satisfaction of cosmic Christ abundance in all. The universal abundance will be yours to share, to give. And you will grow in grace and the knowledge of God. And you will have the understanding and the compassion for one another that the law requires. You will learn to love as we loved. You will have the tenderness of brotherhood, and all of the outer conditions and phases of the world's existence, which are so temporary, they will cease to be. For they will be replaced by the love of the infinite, by the true love of the Christ. And you will rejoice and be glad. And the birds will sing, and the water will fall, and the elements will themselves reflect the rainbow of promise unto all. This is what I would capture for you. This is what I would convey to you. This is what I would give you. Freely I have received, freely do I give of my love. And the love that I give is a magnet, and it will help you to establish a greater force field for the light, for the strength, for the abundance of God in your life. Will you receive this understanding and hold it dear? Will you keep it always with you as a treasure? Will you recognize the source from whence it comes? Will you understand that he who said, "Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end," was also speaking to the children of this age, to every race, to every clime, to every age, for his love is infinite. It has so become, it so endures. Blessings do I bring you. Blessings lie within your hand. May you give them also unto others. I, John, have spoken of his love. I thank you. my eyes have gazed upon Mount Hermon, I have seen the roses upon the mountain and the snow-capped crest. I have also observed throughout the centuries the passage of time, in the consciousness. I have seen how individuals are moved by the past, by the present, and by the future. They are moved by future ideas. They are moved by the past ideas. Yet all of these stem from the vine of the present hour. And so as we reveal today, within the consciousness of the devotee, the fruit of the eternal vine, it is the fruit of God identity. It is not the fruit of the world. It is not the fruit of suffering or attainment. It is the fruit of the eternal vine. It is the pre-essence of life that knocks at the door, that stands knocking, and saith unto all, Hear my voice, that I may come in and sup with thee. When long ago, as David, the shepherd boy, I composed the sonnets of the Psalms, it was the call of the soul calling out unto God for the domain of destiny, sought to mold me in the shape of the world, in the shape of things past, present, and to come. But the timelessness of God was forgotten, and the tenderness of God was forgotten, and the wrath of God was beheld. And it was as though the world itself were continually chastened by God. Let us now walk in the ways of peace and know the ways of peace. Let us walk in the ways of harmony and know the ways of harmony. Let us walk in the ways of love and know love. For love is the fulfillment of the many dreams of a heart and a mind that is devoted to the challenges before it, even as the hearts and minds of men were devoted in the past to the challenges that were before them. But they did not have the opportunity envisioned in these latter days. They did not have the opportunity envisioned now. The opportunity to be free and to accept the great blazing noontide of God reality within. They were in prison. They were in bondage to the traditions of the world. And if anything could be said in favor of this generation, it is that they have repudiated, unfortunately, many of the virtues of the past ages. And you live in a time of supposed freedom, when in casting off the garments of tradition, man is chosen to exemplify freedom without possessing it, charity without adhering to it, and love without revealing it. The synthetic expression of humankind is not that which we urge upon you, but we urge upon you the expression of the deity and the age-old remembrance that sunders man from the darkness in himself that separates him clear and clean, until as a crystal flowing river he is able once again to recover his balance in harmony and love and perceive who and what he is. Man is the dream of God, the dream of God expression. If he will be that, if he will manifest that, if he will accept that, then, and then alone, can he express the reality that in the beginning he once was. This reality we bring to you now in this hour in time. We bring this reality to you now. It is the reality of yourself and of the strength of yourself. Having done all things well, ye stand. Having done all things well, ye will not fall. You will remain tethered to the highest calling of God in myself and in yourself. The call of Christ Jesus is with you still. It is the call of the Immaculate Concept. It is the call of charity. It is the call of love and the call of compassion. This call goeth forth into the world. The world receives it, and they know it not, nor perceive it not. Yet it goeth forth. It is heard, yet having ears humanity hear not. Having eyes they see not. For the fruit of the Spirit and the righteousness of the Spirit is full of grace and truth. And in these latter times ye are all able to express it. You are able to express it even as I am that. And I am within you. And I am one with the Father. And you are one with me. And we are one with God. And we will express it. We will cater to it. We will compliment it. We will adorn it. All things come unto you who labor, and to you who wait. In your patience possess your souls, for through the centuries I possessed mine, little by little casting off the darkness of the world, and more putting on the garment of the Lord. This is the fruit of redemption. It is the fruit of reality. It is the Christ consciousness. Put away from yourselves, then, the idea of garnering the things of the world. Watch the quality of the thoughts that endure within you. And let the best thoughts sink down deeply into your ears and heart. Let the best thoughts be themselves expressed. Let the best thoughts be cultivated and nourished. Let the best thoughts dwell bodily in you. For they are able ultimately to provide you with freedom. They are able ultimately to provide you with peace. They are able ultimately to provide you with the diligence of the Spirit. I take my leave of you, knowing full well that this leave is no leave at all. For lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the age, even unto the end of the world. My peace I give unto you. Peace not as the world giveth, give I unto you, but the peace of my presence. May the peace of your presence receive it, and may you be one with it, even as it is one with you.